Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first session of the day at LitFestx. We are joined by Dr. N S Rajan, who is Group Chief Human Resource Officer at the Tata Group, and he's also a member of the Group Executive Council at Tata Sons. He sees his role as harnessing people potential and evangelizing employee well-being across the Tata Group. Incidentally, the group employs 600,000 people across the globe. He has diverse interests, including photography, traveling, blogging, and of course, social media. And interestingly, Dr. Rajan speaks 8 languages. He pens poetry in 3 of them and also writes on business and leadership. So, welcome, Dr. Rajan, to LitFestx.
Thank you, Kumar. It's a wonderful privilege.
Sir, on your recent book, Quote Me If You Can, it is ironical that your book is a compilation of your thoughts and tweets and several quotes. And we are discussing that book using a social media platform, the world's first online virtual literary festival, LitFestx. Tell us a little bit about the book and what made you write this book.
In fact, before I go there, I must congratulate you for initiating a format like this. I think it's a wonderful medium. You really are ahead of your times in terms of understanding the power of the medium. I think people like you bring this medium alive.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
But I must admit,
I would like to add there, sir, that since the Tata Group has 600,000 employees, at some point in time, I'm sure we can together leverage this medium to reach out to your employees for critical messages.
We are already ahead of our times. In fact, at the Tatas, our Tata company's handle has more than 2.5 lakh followers. We are also trying to learn from our youngsters how to be more current in the current generation. And coming back to the question you asked, I started off not through the social medium, but through a normal pen and paper medium almost in 2005. I remember I had gone for a wedding, and I mentioned it in the preface in the book. And I said, let me go back over 20 years and see if I can write down what I have learned at different points of time in a line or two. That remained with me, and later when I actually got onto Twitter, I thought they both spoke to each other very well, and I started using Twitter as a medium to post those. And then I continued doing that. Before I knew, I've already written 13,000.
Wow. And so when you're working on these quotes, do you find yourself doing it as part of a regimen that you follow daily or weekly, or are these just coming to you naturally when you're traveling or in your engagement?
The thoughts are more in terms of triggers that I respond to during the day. But what I've done is I normally typically put them in a draft mode. And my idea really is to spend about half an hour in the morning to chisel them a bit, probably to insert something that can make people smile, to do a bit of wordplay. And I normally send it out at 8 o'clock in the morning. So between 8:30, roughly, almost every day for the last 5 years, I've been writing my thoughts.
That is a fantastic sort of disciplined approach. And I'm sure, once you finish, like you said, 12 or 13,000, once you had this big, treasure chest, if I can call, of these lovely quotes, are you then also seeing, how they are all interplaying with each other? I'm sure you must have seen a lot of sort of commonalities or themes coming through.
I see every day as an interplay of each other, honestly, not just the tweets. And what I tried doing is not to actually bunch it all up in a single topic, because I think it's more fun when you read something where you're touching upon different parts of what you've experienced in the day. So I use actually a combination of tweets, but all on different topics. In fact, if you look at Quote Me If You Can, you'll notice that while they're arranged by day, they don't follow a specific content format of a particular topic.
So these are really your thoughts, ruminations, over the years in many ways.
Yeah, largely true. Day by day, drop by drop.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the topic for our session today is happiness at work worth pursuing. I think we are in an interesting, backdrop in corporate India, especially today, where, there's been a lot of flux in terms of high growth, then, periods of low growth. There's been a lot of flux in terms of, people's aspirations and sentiment with respect to, the future of business. And at the same point in time, there's been a huge source of new employment generated because of the e-com boom, because of startups coming in. And all in all, we keep seeing very different views from experts, consultants, the media, bloggers, magazines, all sorts of noises coming into the system, where we are saying that work is about happiness, and there should be fun at work, there should be joy at work. There are all kinds of acronyms being made. um, Given your tremendous experience across a variety of organizations of all sizes, both on the consulting side as well as in corporates, what is your broad view, in terms of this whole, point of having happiness at work? I mean, is it a myth? Is it an enigma? Is it worth even going there?
I would say for me personally, it's been a topic that I've been pursuing for almost 3 decades. I really truly believe that happiness at work is worth pursuing. I'm not talking of an end destination. So very often when we refer to happiness at work, you look at a place you would reach. My sense really is that it's a long-term journey. And in that journey, you would have pluses and minuses, things that go right, things that go wrong. But if you're able to find a way in which you're able to understand happiness a little more intimately, you would probably make your overall life that much more enriching. And let me also share that when we talk of the changing generations and changing modes of work, the kind of work that's available out there, that might be changing for sure. If you're looking at the advent of technology, you look at e-commerce, look at the way social media has evolved, there are a number of changes there. But I believe that the fundamentals don't change. For example, if you look at the way you love, and I always say that to be able to love and to be loved is one of the great source of happiness. Or if you look at work, to be able to find fulfillment and be able to match what you are made of in terms of your own gifts, and finding a way in which you can actually relish your work and where you find a career, not just a job, is another great source of happiness. A lot of these, I believe, are fundamental to humanity. I recall Nitin Noria had actually written a book called Drives, where he talked about 4 forms of motivation that drive us, and he took anthropological research and actually said there are 4 key drives that make us motivated. The first one is our need to acquire. The second is the need to learn, or the curiosity to learn. The third is the drive to bond. And the fourth is drive to defend what you believe in. And he says, he along with Lawrence, who actually was his co-author, talked the fact that in 7,000 years, that has not undergone a change. So when we talk of happiness at work, I think we need to bear that in mind, that we are talking of a long-term journey. There are 2 forms of happiness, Kumar, if I may share. One is relatively short-term, so you eat a chocolate, you feel very happy. But there is a long-term fulfillment that all of us really pine for, and that, I think, is doable.
So, and when you, Dr. Rajan, talk about the long-term happiness at work, I think the current generation is also living in this assumption of saying that every workplace they enter and every day or every quarter, every term needs to be filled with happiness and fun and joy. My personal view has been that workplaces today, because of the intense competition in every industry, whether you're in steel, cement, manufacturing, or you're in services, or you're an e-com or whatever it is, the intense competition requires people to be, it's a war-torn conflict zone many times, depending on which part of the function or business you're in. And one can't, really be expecting to land up at work and only be in, let's say, happy environment of a happy conversation, pleasant conversations, whether it is with a supplier or whether you're doing negotiation, whether you're following up, on payments or so on and so forth. So, I have been seeing a lot of the popular press. Today there's a lot of HR media, which excuse me for saying, but I think which has over glorified the concept of, happiness at work or fun and joy at work. Like you rightly said, it can't be a destination. You have to keep finding that path in the long term and find happiness along the way. What is your view in terms of, what you're seeing on the ground in terms of people's expectations of finding happiness at work?
See, there are two aspects to it. One, very often when you use the word happiness, the immediate feelings it evokes in you is that, one, it's fluffy, therefore it seems very intangible. The second thing that it evokes is that, listen, God knows how long it will take. Is it pursuit really worth it? Now, my question to you is the alternate worth it? Do you wish to be unhappy? Do any of us who are watching us, do they wish to be unhappy? So my purpose in terms of wanting to quest is really coming from the fact that there is a certain value in being able to understand it. And if you can find ways in which you can actually ameliorate or by and large mitigate unhappiness and find ways you can actually find happiness, I think the balance will keep you going. In all this, what we also have to bear in mind is, I'll give you a couple of examples. Now, we talk of jobs and we talk of career, right? Now, typically a job is one where it's work that you pick up, where you get a certain recompense and you go ahead and do it. But when you start actually joining an organization that has tremendous values of its own, let's say like the Tatas, and you start resonating with the values of the Tatas, you believe in their belief systems, you become part of the ethos, then you are no longer working for Tatas. You are working for yourself in a company whose values you cherish and own. So the ability to share values and share vision is an integral part of what I mean in terms of happiness at work. And that's not the only thing that's required. Now, each of us have multiple requirements as individuals. So when you're actually constructing happiness at work, you need to identify drivers which together create an integrated place that makes you enjoy every day of your life.
How well put, Dr. Rajan. You have stated that one needs to love what they do, and before they find out what they love to do. So, tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, I agree with this statement, but look forward to your views on this.
See, let me put it very, very simply. All of us, in different forms, are gifted. It could be in the forms of intelligence that we have. It could be in capabilities and skills that we have. And when we actually pursue work as a key area that will keep us occupied and also be able to give us recompense in terms of living our lives, you normally tend to pick up a job that may not be the best job that you want. You don't see yourself making a career in it. But my belief is that you have to keep on the lookout if you're not in a place where you don't really belong. You might be there for temporary reasons, but you have to find not only your own vocation, that is a job that gives you a great amount of joy in doing what you wish to do, and being able to find something where they provide that opportunity and challenge. Sachin Tendulkar is a big favorite of mine, and people like him are gifted because very early in his life, and almost he was a child, he decided, I'm going to play cricket and that's all I want to do in life. And that's what he got to do all his life. So he retired with a great degree of a grace, with a great degree of comfort that he had done what he wanted to do all his life. And his own vocation helped him do that. Not all of us are equally lucky to get there. But I think the quest is worth it, because you have to finally reach a place where you can get the best of who you are and be in a place which you own intrinsically.
Right, right. And in your experience, you know, how long or what are those ways one can help discover, what is it that their calling is, what is their purpose, what is it that they enjoy doing? Have you seen some pattern, in your long tenure?
I'm hardly a role model when it comes to making the right choices. Most choices in my life, interestingly, have been made by the company who called me into their fold. So I really can't use my own life as an example, but I believe that it's very, very important, one, to introspect, to know more about yourself, to know more about what you wish to do, what you can do, what you're capable of, or how you would educate yourself and ensuring that you reach a point where you're able to give a larger sense of completeness to what you're capable of achieving for yourself. The next step is to essentially use mentors where you can, because especially when we're young, you don't always have opportunities to decide what is right for me. And a lot of times people, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be somebody who's been in business or who's actually been at work to be able to guide you. But I think it's a matchmaking process. I think we don't have so many worries when we get married, right? We're willing to go ahead, close our eyes and get married, and then figure out what to do with it. And a lot of us do that, right? And I think in terms of career, probably you have to be careful, because you don't have the same need as what you have in terms of a companionship for a lifetime. Here you're looking at jobs, and fortunately, in one sense, you are able to use the opportunity where you have and look at yourself and see whether you are getting the best that you need to. And it's both ways. A lot of times, and I've seen really successful people, and I think it is their gift that irrespective of the job they are in, they live every day of their lives in a way in which this is the only thing that matters to them. I think when you do that, there was a lovely quotation from Nathaniel Hawthorne, who says happiness is like a butterfly, that if you try reaching out for it, it will slip away. But if you gently sit down and do your work right, he didn't say that, that's my paraphrasing, it will come and sit on your shoulder gently. I think so with our careers. I've seen a lot of friends who get there.
Right, right. Coming to careers, you know, today it's become almost in vogue to be ranked as a best employer of choice, or a best place to work, or a leading employer. There are, I mean, several of these methodologies and rankings and ratings, etc. But we all know that it's not that only the well-ranked companies are good places where people are making their careers. And as a HR head, then what do you think is really prompting people to stay in an organization, choose an organization, build their career with them? What do you think is happening currently?
Uh, let me actually share that I feel really privileged that I'm part of a group that's been around for 140 years. And I'll just pick up two elements in the group, which I think uh, perhaps they indicate the kind of a difference it can make in making people belong. If you look at our holding company, so we have 100 operating companies, we have 600,000 people, and we operate in some 140 countries across the world. What is interesting is that the holding company, two-thirds of it is owned by Tata Trust, which means every rupee that we make, 66% goes back into the communities. Now that gives all of us who are part of the Tata Group a remarkable high. It's not that I have necessarily personally contributed per se, but the fact is that I belong to a group that believes in it, that believes in giving back as much as it takes. And two-thirds goes back into community. If you look at our founder chairman, Jamshedji Tata, around the time when you are talking about late 1800s, he had the vision to be able to think of maternity leave, for example, think of bonus in times when there was no law at all. So I think some organizations, and I'm not saying Tatas are alone in that, But there are organizations which are able to do things which reflect their ethos and their belief system. And that creates a sense of nobility of purpose. And that nobility of purpose makes employees want to belong. And if you are tuned that way, when you enter, it becomes very, very difficult for you to walk away. And even as an environment, one of the things that I've noticed is that as a group, it doesn't really wear it on its sleeve and talk about it. It's almost reticent in talking about the good that it does. But I think there is a reason behind it. That in the group, we believe it is our duty. And I always feel that when you have to look at an organization and how well it handles itself, probably its ability to cater to the lowest common denominator will tell you what the organization is like. Can it really give voice to the voiceless? That starts giving you a sense of what the organization believes in. I think when you belong to an organization like that, I think you belong, and therefore, if you belong, you're part of the family. That is the question of going away.
Right. I think so. What you're really saying is, in some organization, it is the legacy, it is the value system, the ethos, which can really be those key differentiators in attracting talent and retaining it. And as you just mentioned, with certainly with the Tata Group, it is. Coming back to your book, I mean, now that you've spent what 12, 13,000 quotes in so many years, I'm sure you must be having some which are your favorites, or not just because of the quote itself, but also probably when you penned it down or the context in which you wrote it. Give us one or two of your favorites.
I think one which is very close to what we were discussing just now. I remember I felt very happy when I wrote it, more in terms of what it was connoting. And I always have believed that the average reader is very bright in terms of being able to figure out what you're trying to say. What you need to do is ensure that you put it out there for the person to relish it. So when I wrote Chisel Your Values, and I'm somebody who loves art, who loves sculpture, painting, and I'm a big admirer. I can't paint or sculpt for nuts, but I really love it. And Michelangelo is one of my all-time favorites. And when I was thinking of him, and I wrote, chisel your values, pen your vision, and pencil your strategy. This was actually a trigger because strategy is a word that's used so widely all over the place that even strategy has forgotten what strategy means. And here, what I was trying to say is that when you're talking about chiseling your values, so as an organization, as an enterprise, you need to actually be able to embed it into the soul of the organization. It is chiseled in a way in which it becomes enduring and permanent. So you're talking about vision. Vision can still change depending on the markets changing after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So pen your vision and pencil your strategy, because you need to be agile, you need to be responsive, and when things change, you move quickly. So that's one line which I thought was something that resonated very well with what I believed in.
I think that is a very, if I can say, profound way of looking at it, and it really, in a sentence, simplifies, what the core and the outer sort of shell of an organization can be. Both in terms of something which is fixed in time and something which is reactive at times as well. So that's a brilliant quote.
There is one more which from the Tata context. I must confess, Kumar, when you've written so many of them, it's almost impossible to remember off the cuff all that you've written. So a lot of times when somebody asks, I really struggle because they say, but you've written it. I said, yeah, thank you. But it's much more difficult to be able to recall off the cuff. But there is something which, after I joined the Tatas, and I thought of, and it was very reflective of the group, that doing the right thing goes beyond doing things right.
Sure, certainly. And this is more true in today's day and age. More true in today's day and age.
And I think it's reflective because it's very, very difficult to stand straight when there are situations outside that make you wonder. But I think part of the strength, and which is where it links back to chisel your values, is that if you're clear, you're willing to let go. So today when I speak to my current chairman and talk about what's happening outside, his belief is, listen, integrity is inviolable. So we are talking of a zero tolerance business. So I think somewhere there is that underlying belief system, which I think is important. Now, I'm not even claiming at any point of time saying, arrogantly that we are perfect. I don't think as a group, that's what we claim. But we try really, really hard to play it right, to play it straight. And I think that for me is enough.
True, true. It's the intention to play it right, which is really important. Uh, Dr. Rajan, we now have maybe a minute or two. There are some questions coming on Twitter to us through the online viewers. I'm just going to pick one and I'm going to show it to you so you can respond to it. So it says companies are failing to treat people as assets. What's the biggest change you have to see to help employees attain happiness at work?
I would tell Riju to ensure that the first line is changed. The answer is there. I think Riju put the answer in his question. Treat people like assets and you will realize that they respond, they reciprocate. They recognize who you are and where they stand. So Riju has the answer. He just has to take the first line and turn it around.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So on that note, Dr. Rajan, we'll bring this session to an end. It's been an exciting 30 minutes, and certainly I think your book is a valuable resource to all, not just HR practitioners, but the average person who can really take in from the tremendous insights with which you have penned some of these quotes. And we wish your book all the success and all the success to you at the Tata Group as well.
Thank you, Kumar. One of the things I've been taught by my social media friends is to be shameless in showing the cover of the book. So may I take the liberty? This is the book we've been discussing. Thank you so much to all of you for being there. God bless. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, sir.